the role of an SMPS Society Liaison. This is Natalie Gozzard, Chapter Services Coordinator at SMPS Headquarters, located in Alexandria, Virginia. We're right outside of Washington, D.C. So I have just a few housekeeping items before we start. First off, all of your lines have been muted. We encourage your questions during today's program, so feel free to use the raise hand icon next to your name to ask any questions you may have, and I'll unmute you. Or you can feel free to type your questions into the questions box. Today's program is being recorded and will be made available within your Society Liaisons community of My SMPS for future reference. We have the privilege of having SMPS board member Melissa Lutz, your chapter delegate, with us today. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, everybody.
Melissa and I have lots to share with you, so again, please feel free to ask questions during the program. And we've planned for a brief Q&A session at the end of the program as well. So if time doesn't permit or we miss your question, please do touch base with Melissa or me after the program. So Melissa, I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton to you at this time for you to welcome everyone and share why we're here today.
Great, thank you. Thanks everybody for volunteering to get more involved with SMPS or to continuing to be involved with the organization. I wanted to share with you just a little bit the role about the Society Liaison and how it came about. As most of you know, we did a 2020 strategic plan for the organization, and through some of the environmental scanning that we've been kind of doing ongoing, so these are those surveys that we've done for your chapter leaders and also for all of our members, we realized that we needed to create better connection between the society at a headquarters level and then with the chapters and the members. So what we're trying to do here with the Society Liaison position, and last year was the first year we kicked this off, is to make something that's very easy to implement and to bring the big picture level to our members at the chapter level so that they feel like they know exactly what they're doing, what we're doing for them from the big world picture, and that they know all the things that we're involved with that can help them.
Thanks, Melissa. So as Melissa just shared with us, the role of Society Liaison is basically to fill the gap and bridge what's happening strategically with the society and with what our chapters are doing. Society Liaisons really are to be the go-to expert on all things SMPS within chapters. So what are your responsibilities as a Society Liaison? Well, number one, all Society Liaisons really should have a working knowledge or at least familiarity with all society benefits. And please don't let this overwhelm you. We have many, many resources available to you. And at the very least, we have one whole PowerPoint available for you entitled The Power of SMPS, which lists all the benefits and services. Number two, you're responsible for being knowledgeable of the activities of the SMPS board. Now, Melissa's going to share some initiatives with you shortly, and we'll push information out to you when it becomes available. Lastly, number three, promote and communicate society benefits to your chapter. If you need some ideas on how to do this effectively, well, here we go. Spread the word. One of the best practices is to spotlight one benefit or service at a time. So here's an example. Take the Learning Labs. Are you familiar with the Learning Labs? These labs are free educational live webinars. They're offered every other month. Each program runs approximately 30 to 45 minutes to fit into everyone's busy schedule, and CEUs can be earned. So recently, we've run 2 labs on InDesign, and they were hugely successful and popular. We had, I believe, over 800 members registered for the labs. The next program is a case study on developing team dynamics in design build teams, and that's going to take place on November 12th. So as a liaison, how can you promote this member benefit? Well, you can request to attend and present this information at a board meeting. You can share it first with the board, figure out what you want to share with members, and then make an announcement before a chapter meeting or the next educational session. You could work with your chapter board and programs chair to get this opportunity to make these announcements. You could perhaps write a piece for your chapter newsletter, perhaps even get your own column to share the facts. You could get engaged with chapter events. Go ahead, Melissa.
Natalie, just something about the chapter newsletter. Something that I found really helpful is last year for our chapter in Greater Cincinnati, and there may be someone on the call from there, but what we did is we did a headquarters highlight, and what we did is we looked for, we came up with a couple ideas for each month, and we kind of backlogged those. So every month when our president sent out their newsletter, there was a column that was highlighting special things that headquarters was doing, whether it be the learning labs, whether it be the new MyMPS platform, SMPS platform, or other things going on about conference, build business, or any educational events. Everybody knew kind of where to look for that monthly, and it was really helpful for people to be able to refer to that and learn more about the society.
That's a great idea. I love that, Melissa. Liaisons, you can also get engaged with chapter events, offer to host a roundtable, share what's new. Perhaps you can participate in a new member orientation. Once you determine the best way to share with your chapter, we encourage you to share your best practices with all liaisons. So are you looking for ideas on what to share? The private Society Liaison community of MySMPS provides a great library of resources and facilitates discussions amongst liaisons. This is a great place to search for best practices. Let's check out the community. I'm going to pull this over. Now, this is the MySMPS, this is Society Liaison community within MySMPS. All current Society Liaisons are members of the MySMPS community. Now, here's the site. The login to get into your chapter Society Liaison community of MySMPS is same as the SMPS website. And each community that you visit within MySMPS looks exactly the same. We have these tabs across the top. Members, there are currently 41 members within the Society Liaison community. You have a discussions tab where you can post messages. This would be a great place to post best practices, what you're doing that's going over well with your chapter. You can ask some questions. The library of your community contains, and it's going to be populated with, a lot of resources and documents for you to reference and share. So some of the documents that we have in here right now, we have the Society Liaison position description. Under resources, we have several different resources. The SMPS benefits and services talking points, I mentioned that previously. That's where this is located. Some resources we have from headquarters. We have all the monthly dashboards, which contain the statistics. And we have the webinar presentations, and this is where I'm going to store this presentation after we finish. We also have last year's, and this is where we have the Power of MySMPS presentation. That's probably the document I referenced earlier, I'm sorry, and that's where that PowerPoint is located. So we encourage you to initiate discussions within this private community, and I really feel strongly that all can benefit from your questions and best practices. So please do share, and if you have any difficulties with MySMPS, please let me know, and I would be happy to assist you. So we're going to push information out to you and share it as it develops. And we also plan to host quarterly calls for all liaisons to touch base and check in. The first being quarterly would be in January. So again, please contact me if you have any questions before then. Do we have any questions at this time? I thought I'd pause. I'm not seeing any hands raised. No questions in the question box. Okay, I'm going to move on. At this time, I'm going to pass the baton back to your chapter delegate, Melissa, to speak to the current SMPS strategic initiatives. Melissa?
Great, thank you. As most of you know, the strategic initiatives were the same as these last year. We're continuing to grow these areas, specifically focusing on content. So that is working on our educational offerings. And one of the things that came out of that last year is the lunchtime learning labs. We're going to be doing that again, so look for some new program topics on that. And this is just packaging them for use by your members and by individual firms. For research, providing information in our thought leadership for our members. One thing that we did, and some of you may have had people come and present from the foundation, is our foundation published the AEC, the Decade Ahead book, and that was some research that was done individually by the foundation, and there are great plans in the future for some research that we'll be able to share with our members. For outreach, this is working on our alliances with peer organizations such as ULI, AIA, ACEC, AGC, the P3 organization, and we've also been hitting some grassroots efforts by going and reaching out to members' firms, making sure we're meeting their needs. And we have people come and present at all the different regional conferences and have firm meetings set up with those. So that's what we've been doing as well. For chapter services, it's really working with all of our chapters to make sure that we have ways to make our leaders' lives easier. So it's giving you more resources to do your job. Right now we have a finance task force that's working with all of our chapter treasurers to streamline some of those activities and reporting systems for you. So if you have questions on any of these individually, certainly feel free to email myself or Natalie, and we'd be happy to share a little bit more about that with you.
That's a great document. Thank you so much for explaining it to us, Melissa. I'm going to make sure that I store this document within the community for all Society Liaisons. And here's another document I'll make sure that you all have access to. It's a at-a-glance society overview. We have over 6,300 members, 57 chapters. We are international, and that we have a robust chapter in Canada, Ontario. We have 15 professional staff members here at headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia to assist you. Now, society benefits and services. Here is a listing of society benefits and services. Of course, it's not all, but we've put this together for you as a resource to use in addition to the documents within the Society Liaison community and the information that we push out to you as well. So I'm just going to touch on a few listed benefits so you can have an example of what's available to share with your chapters. Some of you may already be familiar with these benefits. Some of you may need more information or more detail. So please remember that all resources and benefits are available within My SMPS or on the SMPS website. You could search for it on the SMPS website. To make it easy peasy, just perhaps pick one and highlight one benefit or service at every meeting or one every month. Make it easy for yourself. First off, consider perhaps what are the society benefits that you enjoy. Share and speak to what you know. Now, what you're looking at right now on the screen, the AEC Buyer's Guide, for example, it's an online search tool to identify, research, and connect with AEC companies. The link is on the SMPS homepage. Awards and recognition. For example, does your chapter intend to submit for the Striving for Excellence Awards this year? Some chapters actually use this award criteria as a roadmap for their year. Perhaps touch base with your chapter on awards overall and find out what they're doing and find out where the needs might be, what information you can push out. Blueprints, this is a super popular interactive PDF that contains model marketing BD departments, job descriptions, it has a self-assessment tool in it, interview questions for candidates, etc. Build Business, our annual conference. This year it's going to be in Los Angeles. Chapter membership down to the bottom of your screen. There's always so much to share with chapter membership. For example, did you know that when a member joins SMPS, he or she gets a welcome email from headquarters? The email contains a link for the new member to direct them to a landing page which contains a lot of other information for the new member. So perhaps share this information with your chapter volunteers. There's always so much information that you could be pushing out. The Marketer magazine, it's SMPS's award-winning bi-monthly journal. Articles can be shared with your chapters. My SMPS, I've mentioned it quite frequently already during this program, but this is SMPS's online community, and it's a great benefit. The searchable member directory is very helpful. So is your chapter's board using their My SMPS community? Is your chapter's community active? I can certainly assist you with all things My SMPS. I am frequently invited to pop in virtually to chapters, most frequently for their new member orientations, and I provide a brief overview and the benefits of the community. So I'm happy to do overviews of My SMPS for all chapters. MRC, that's the Marketing Resource Center. It's located within My SMPS. This is the library of the Marketing Resource Center is chock full of useful information and resources such as sample documents, industry articles, CPSM study tools and guides, white papers, SMPS educational reports. So, for example, if your chapter is looking for programming ideas, the educational reports are in there. So the Marketing Resource Center in and of itself is an ideal benefit to promote to your chapters. So here are more. We could just go on and on. But you really are likely to know your members and chapter best. So what do you think that they need to know? Once you've reviewed all these resources that are available to you, please do contact me or Melissa with any questions that you might have. So, in review today, we've provided you with an overview of your role as an SMPS Chapter Society Liaison and have hopefully pointed you to some resources that you have available. And I hope I've encouraged you to share your best practices. What questions do you have for us at this time? Anyone have any questions? If you raise your hand, I can unmute you, or you could type a question into the question box. No questions, anyone? Okay, we do have a question. How many CPSMs to date? That is an excellent question. I'm trying to think of what the number is.
Hi, Natalie, it's Mary.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary. I know you know the number. Come on, here's the challenge.
And we also can make this information available on the, we can add the chapter national reports that we receive from, that we actually put together each month. We put together a statistical report for overall across the country. What do the numbers look like? For CPSMs, it's 849. And then that may be a report we can also make available, Natalie, in the community.
Sure, I will do so. Thanks so much, Mary.
Welcome.
Another great question. How is the Society Liaison role different from the Chapter Champion role? Melissa Letts, would you like to take that question?
Certainly, I would love to take that question. So for the Society Liaison and the fellow who is going to be your chapter champion, the chapter champion is a fellow, and another member cannot serve in that role unless they are a fellow. Some of our chapter champions and society liaisons are the same person, but we found that having a dual resource has a couple people working together, and sometimes they serve in a committee role. What a fellow can do is a fellow is able to do programming for the chapter, and depending on who you have for your society liaison, they may be able to too. A society liaison could be someone who is kind of an up-and-comer in your chapter who you'd like to get more involved in, potentially target for future leadership roles, such as maybe a president-elect or something like that. It's a great way for them to learn about headquarters and to kind of really be the person who's spearheading that and really grow their leadership role. There's something that we could do for you is to kind of maybe further define both of those roles, kind of a what each can do type of thing, and we can certainly post that on the website for you guys to look at for my SMPS. But that just gives you kind of in a nutshell what each can do. The society liaison is not, can or cannot be a fellow, but the chapter champion has to be a fellow. And that is a clear distinction. However, they can do a lot of the same exact things, but we can further define that for you.
That's great. Thank you, Melissa. Here's another great question. What new tools are being developed by the Society for the coming year? And that's a great question. And as new initiatives are developed, as I said, we will be pushing these out to you as they occur. But I can give you a heads up on two new exciting initiatives. We actually will have some new marketing pieces coming out in terms of some value messaging pieces. We're working with a firm to develop some new pieces for us, so those will be forthcoming. Big exciting news, Mary. Hoping I can give a little teaser on this. We do have a brand new learning management system coming. We've contracted with a firm. We are working right now to develop content, and we are very much looking forward to having a learning management system on our website, which will contain all the educational resources. It's where our webinars will be hosted, and we will start offering courses in the near future. So very exciting. Look for much more information be coming out as we get closer to the start date for this. I'm looking for another question. Here's an interesting question. I'm not quite sure if I know the answer to this, so I might have to call on Mary or Melissa for this. Are CPSM CEUs available for those serving as society liaison? How can the hours spent be best tracked?
I would say that if you're preparing a presentation that you're giving and it's kind of along the guidelines, the CEU guidelines, if you're preparing a presentation for the chapter and it's something that you haven't done before, you can certainly log those as CEU hours. But if it's a volunteer role and you're just kind of sharing information, it really doesn't count as a CEU.
I would agree with that, Melissa, and that is something we can certainly discuss with the Education Department with Kevin Doyle. But if you are presenting information to a group, a 1-hour learning opportunity, as Melissa stated, that would be considered for 1 CEU hour. But if you're, as a society liaison, the point here is really to be that point person, that connection to headquarters to share information. So it would be more of these items that Melissa and Natalie went through today.
Great. And here's a question. The question is, in terms of the headquarters highlights for the newsletter or slides to present at meetings, is there a library of these things available to us, or are we to create them? So there is certainly a library for those, and I'm going to augment this library, and this is going to be within the Chapter Society Liaison community of my SMPS, which I showed you. You have the opportunity to set your subscription preferences for this community, so you can receive emails the day that I put them out. They'll come to you directly right away, or you can set your subscription preferences to receive a digest of all the emails that are that come into the community at one time. They'll be sent to you in one lump sum. I would prefer to communicate with all society liaisons within my SMPS. That way I'm not adding to your already clogged inbox, I'm sure, and just sending you emails. So this, and also for archival purposes, all of the information that I store or that I push out in discussions in the Chapter Society Liaison community will then be available to Society Liaison next year and the years to come. So it's archival purposes, and then if a liaison is stopping in just to see what's going on, they'll have access to all the emails. So all the information that we push out to you will be coming through your Chapter Society Liaison of my SMPS, the community. Any other questions at this time? I'm looking. I see Katie Garrett has a question. Katie, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead with your question, Katie.
I was just curious if one of our responsibilities is sharing some of the happenings with the national board, sort of their initiatives and things like that. How are those relayed to us for us to then share with our boards?
This is Mary. I can certainly speak to that, Natalie or Melissa, if you want to chime in. But certainly, we are currently the headquarters or national board has recently had 2 strategic planning sessions, Part 1 and Part 2. One took place in June. The last was mid-September in Chicago, and they're finalizing the strategic planning goals in October. They're coming to headquarters. I think it's the 20th and 21st of October, where the plan will actually be put down on paper and shared, and filtering through tactics and strategic more specifics to each goal. So once that is, and it is in line with what Melissa shared earlier with the 4 initiatives that we've continued, but there'll be more detail. So once that is complete, we will certainly share that. We hope to share with chapters with some of our members as well, and with you. So we'll find a way, as Natalie mentioned, most likely through the community to share that document and to push some of those specific initiatives out to you. Melissa, did you want to add anything to that?
I think that you kind of hit it right on, but as soon as we do put a lot of planning into that, and as soon as anything's ready to share, we definitely will put that out to you as your chapter liaison and your president, and then the 2 of you can work together on how you want to disseminate the information to your members.
That is great. And one thing that you mean just mentioning, you can also, if maybe speak with the chapter president, if you're not already serving on your chapter's board, and find a time where you maybe could participate in one of the board meetings and share this information with your chapter's board of directors so that they're all on the same page as well, in addition to some of the other outlets that Natalie talked about.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Melissa, thanks for the question, Katie. Jenny Chubb, I see that you have a question. Jenny, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Jenny, okay, we're going to go on to Maggie. Maggie Bolden, do you have a question? I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Maggie. You're unmuted.
I didn't have any question.
Okay. And I see Amy Collins. Did you have a question, Amy? I've gone ahead and unmuted you. Okay, I'll go right down the list. Catherine Rocky, are you with us? And you had a question, Catherine?
No question.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any more questions at this time. And certainly, after reviewing this program, after thinking about it, all the food for thought we've provided you, if you do have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to Melissa Lutz or me, and of course, Mary Cruz, with any questions that you might have. Here's our contact information. Mine is easy enough. It's just my first initial and my first name at smps.org, and I provided Melissa's email as well. And Mary, of course, is just Mary at smps.org. In closing, I'd like to thank you all for all that you do and volunteering your time for SMPS. Thank you very much for your time and your commitment. We are so very grateful to you all, and we are here for you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Goodbye.